The signal. Dr. Elena Reeves stared at the anomalous signal pattern scrolling across her monitor. 3 years stationed at Sentinel Deep Space Observatory, and this was the first time she'd seen anything like it. The transmission originated from the Proxima Centauri system, 4.2 light-years from Earth, humanity's closest stellar neighbor, yet impossibly distant with current technology. "Director Harlow," she called, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. "I need you to see this." Marcus Harlow appeared moments later, steaming coffee forgotten in his grip as he leaned over her workstation. At 58, the director of Earth's most advanced listening post had witnessed humanity's tumultuous rise to a unified planet. The resource wars of 2087 had nearly destroyed civilization before leading to the Global Accord and the formation of the United Earth Defense Coalition. "Pattern matches nothing in our database," Elena explained. "Definitely artificial, definitely not human origin." Harlow's weathered face remained impassive, but his eyes betrayed his excitement. "Translation. Working on it. The signal contains mathematical sequences as a foundation, similar to how we designed our own deep space communications. It's a universal language." Elena's fingers danced across the holographic interface. "There's something else. The transmission repeats precisely every 78 seconds, but with subtle variations that can't be random." For 3 days, Elena barely left her station. Sleep came in short bursts on the cot she'd dragged into the lab. The UNEDC had been notified, but the responsibility of first interpretation fell to her. Earth's leading xenolinguist, whose algorithms for detecting non-human communication patterns had revolutionized the field. On the 4th day, her persistence paid off. "It's a distress call," she announced to the emergency council assembled via holographic projection in the station's conference room. Representatives from Earth's 7 unified regions gazed at her with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "The species calls themselves the Ardani. They've been monitoring our transmissions for decades, learning our languages. Their message is specifically directed at Earth." Elena took a deep breath. "They're being hunted to extinction by a predatory species called the Vorlax. The signal contains coordinates, technical data on their attackers, and a desperate plea for intervention." Admiral Chen of the Asia-Pacific Coalition leaned forward. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" "We don't," Elena admitted. "But the signal includes detailed astronomical data that matches our own observations of the Proxima system, plus information about stellar phenomena we hadn't yet detected but have now verified. Either they're telling the truth, or this is an extraordinarily sophisticated deception." The debate raged for weeks as the signal continued, growing fainter each day. Humanity had achieved peace within its own solar system, establishing outposts on Mars, Europa, and Titan. But venturing to another star system remained theoretical. Until now. "The wormhole generator is untested for anything larger than probes," Dr. Katsuro Tanaka, head of the Quantum Displacement Division, reminded the council. "We've only sent 3 unmanned vessels to Proxima, and only 2 returned." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "And the alternative? We ignore the first intelligent species to contact us. A species begging for our help as they face extinction." The vote was not unanimous, but the decision was made. Humanity would answer the call. Commander Jackson Hayes stood in the observation deck of the UES Nemesis, Earth's most advanced warship. At 43, Hayes had distinguished himself during the resource wars and the Mars insurrection. His reputation for unconventional tactics and unwavering resolve had earned him command of humanity's first interstellar mission. The Nemesis was unlike any vessel constructed before, a kilometer-long behemoth built in lunar orbit, incorporating technologies developed over decades of theoretical research, finally brought to fruition under emergency protocols. Its hull contained a revolutionary alloy capable of withstanding extreme gravitational forces. Its propulsion system combined antimatter drives with the experimental wormhole generator. Most importantly, it carried weapons that had never been used outside of testing. Gravity lance emitters capable of disrupting molecular bonds at a fundamental level, quantum phase torpedoes that could bypass conventional shielding by partially shifting into another dimension, and swarms of autonomous combat drones with distributed intelligence networks. Final systems check complete, Commander, announced Executive Officer Diallo. All stations report ready. Hayes nodded, studying the holographic projection of their target. Dr. Reeves, what's the latest on the signal? Elena's hologram appeared beside him. She had remained on Earth to continue analyzing incoming data, but would maintain constant communication with the mission. Transmissions stopped completely 17 hours ago, Commander. We don't know if they've been destroyed or simply can't broadcast anymore. Then we'd better hurry, Hayes replied. Advanced team status. Scout probes successfully transited the wormhole and are transmitting data, Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka reported. Proxima Centauri appears as expected. There's evidence of artificial structures in orbit around the fourth planet, but significant debris fields as well. Hayes addressed the ship-wide communication system. Attention all personnel. In 5 minutes, we will attempt humanity's first manned interstellar journey. We go to answer a call for help, to stand against injustice, and to show that Earth will not turn away from those in need. Whatever awaits us on the other side, we face it together. The wormhole generator engaged, drawing power from the antimatter reactors. Ahead of the Nemesis, space itself seemed to fold inward, creating a swirling tunnel of distorted light. Physics engines throughout the ship compensated for the immense gravitational forces, protecting the 2,000 crew members from being crushed as reality twisted around them. Transit beginning, announced Tanaka, her voice tight with concentration as she monitored the dimensional stabilizers. For 3 minutes and 17 seconds, an eternity to those experiencing it, the Nemesis traveled through the wormhole. Some described it later as falling through shattered glass while being pulled in every direction simultaneously. Others reported hearing impossible sounds or seeing colors that shouldn't exist. Then, with a final surge of gravitational displacement, the Nemesis emerged into the Proxima Centauri system. The view that greeted them silenced every voice on the bridge. The fourth planet, the origin of the distress signal, hung in space like a wounded creature. Massive sections of its surface glowed with the heat of orbital bombardment. Debris fields surrounded it, the remnants of satellites, space stations, and ships. But what seized Hayes' attention was the enormous vessel in stationary orbit above the planet's northern hemisphere. It resembled nothing so much as a predatory sea creature, all angles and protrusions, with a central mass at least 3 times larger than the Nemesis. Smaller craft swarmed around it like remeras attached to a shark. Life signs, Hayes demanded. Detecting approximately 12 million sentient signatures on the planet, reported Science Officer Wong. Population centers appear to be under attack from multiple landing craft. The large vessel is emitting unusual radiation patterns consistent with weapons fire. Hayes' jaw tightened. Stealth systems to maximum. Position us behind Proxima Ivy's moon. Begin passive scans of the enemy vessel and deploy reconnaissance drones. As the Nemesis glided silently into position, Elena's voice came through the command channel. Commander, I'm detecting transmissions from the surface, same linguistic patterns as our distress call. They know we're here. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was like nothing Hayes had ever heard, musical and multitoned, as if several people were speaking in perfect harmony. Earth vessel, you have come. We feared none would answer. The Vorlax hunt us to the last child. They harvest species across the stars for resources, for specimens, for sport. We cannot fight them. Their technology exceeds ours as ours exceeds the simple organisms of our oceans. Please, help us. Hayes' expression hardened as he watched another bombardment begin on the planet below. Whatever doubts might have existed about their mission vanished in that moment. This is Commander Jackson Hayes of the United Earth Defense Coalition vessel Nemesis, he responded. We received your call. We are assessing the situation and preparing to engage. Hold on. You are not alone anymore." He turned to his crew, determination burning in his eyes. "Battle stations. It's time humanity introduced itself to the galaxy." Humanity's wrath. The Vorlax had no concept of mercy. For millennia, they had swept through this arm of the galaxy, systematically harvesting civilizations they deemed ripe for exploitation. Their hulking forms, 3 meters tall with quadruple-jointed limbs and exoskeletons that served as natural armor, evolved on a high-gravity death world where every day was a fight for survival. They did not conquer. They consumed. The Ardani were their 17th harvest in the past century, chosen for their advanced biotechnology and rich planetary resources. The peaceful aquatic species had developed a thriving civilization in the vast oceans and floating cities of Proxima IV, but possessed minimal weapons technology. Their philosophy centered on harmony and symbiosis, concepts the Vorlax found useful only in identifying easily subjugated prey. The Vorlax had encountered many species who begged, many who fought desperately, none who had ever intervened on behalf of others. The concept was foreign to their evolutionary psychology, which is why they paid little attention to the small scout drones mapping their dreadnought systems or the subspace distortions indicating active scans. The primitive vessels they had destroyed in the initial assault had posed no threat. Whatever remained of the Ardani defense forces would be handled by automated systems while the harvesting continued. Drone reconnaissance complete. Lieutenant Park reported on the Nemesis. Their hull composition appears similar to magnetized osmium with regenerative properties. Energy readings suggest shields capable of dispersing conventional weaponry. We've identified what seem to be propulsion systems, weapons arrays, and a centralized command structure. Hayes studied the 3-dimensional projection of the Vorlax dreadnought. Vulnerabilities. Their shield harmonics fluctuate when they fire their main weapons. Park pointed to several nodes along the dreadnought's dorsal ridge. And these appear to be external sensor arrays, less protected than other systems. "Commander," Executive Officer Diallo interrupted. "The Ardani representatives are requesting to speak with you directly." Hayes nodded, and moments later, a holographic figure materialized on the bridge. The Ardani appeared vaguely humanoid, with iridescent blue-green skin that rippled like the surface of water. Large, multifaceted eyes dominated a face with no visible nose and gill-like structures along the neck. "I am Sentinel Mira," the being introduced itself, voice resonating with the same musical quality they had heard earlier. "You risk everything by coming here. The Vorlax have destroyed 17 civilizations that we know of. They arrive without warning, harvest what they desire, and leave worlds barren. How much of your population remains?" Hayes asked. "Perhaps 30%. They target our technology centers first, then population hubs. They take samples of our technology, our art, our children." The Ardani's skin darkened with emotion. Those taken never return. Their weapons capabilities. Energy weapons that disintegrate matter. Drones that hunt and capture. Their hulls repair damage automatically. We managed to destroy 3 of their smaller vessels before our defense grid failed. Hayes' mind was already formulating a strategy. Have they encountered human technology before? No. You would be the first. Our long-range sensors detected your civilization decades ago, but our protocols forbid interference with developing species. Only in desperation did we break this rule. Hayes smiled grimly. Then they don't know what they're dealing with. We may be able to use that advantage, but I need more information about their behavior patterns. The tactical briefing lasted 20 minutes. The Ardani scientific knowledge proved invaluable, filling gaps in the drone reconnaissance data. The Vorlax were methodical, following established protocols for their harvesting operations. Most importantly, they had never encountered a species that used quantum-based technology or gravitational weaponry. "They're beginning another orbital bombardment," Lieutenant Park announced. Hayes had heard enough. "It's time. Inform all hands. We engage in 5 minutes." The plan was audacious, relying on the element of surprise and technologies the Vorlax had never encountered. The Nemesis would emerge from behind the moon at maximum acceleration, targeting the Dreadnought's sensor arrays with precision gravity lance strikes, while simultaneously launching quantum phase torpedoes, weapons designed to briefly slit between dimensions before detonating. "Remember," Hayes addressed his crew, "we're fighting an enemy that believes itself apex predators of the galaxy. They've never faced a challenge they couldn't overwhelm. Today, that changes." The Nemesis burst from its concealment, antimatter drives flaring with blue-white fire as it accelerated toward the Vorlax dreadnought. For precious seconds, the enemy vessel didn't react, its sensors confused by the unprecedented approach vector and energy signature. Gravity lances locked on sensor arrays, Weapons Officer Rodriguez reported. Quantum torpedoes armed and tracking. Fire. The gravity lances struck first, invisible warps in space-time that shredded matter at the molecular level. 4 of the Dreadnought's 6 primary sensor arrays disintegrated. The quantum torpedoes followed, phasing partially out of normal space before re-emerging inside the Vorlax shields. The explosions rippled along the Dreadnought's flanks, tearing open hull breaches that vented atmosphere and crew into space. The Vorlax response was furious but confused. Energy weapons designed to target conventional vessels fired at the Nemesis, but its advanced countermeasures and evasive capabilities allowed it to avoid direct hits. The human vessel danced through space with an agility that belied its size, continuing to strike with surgical precision at vulnerable points identified in the tactical analysis. "They're launching fighter craft," Park warned as hundreds of smaller vessels poured from the Dreadnought's hangar base. "Deploy drone swarms, defensive pattern Theta," Hayes ordered. "Prepare main antimatter cannon." The battle evolved into controlled chaos. The autonomous combat drones, each carrying a miniaturized version of the gravity lance, engaged the Vorlax fighters. What the human drones lacked in size they made up for in numbers and coordination, their distributed AI adapting tactics faster than the Vorlax could respond. The Dreadnought, recovering from the initial shock, began targeting the Nemesis with its primary weapon, a particle beam capable of slicing through conventional hulls like paper. The human vessel's shields strained under the assault, power fluctuations cascading through non-critical systems. "Shields at 62% and dropping," Diallo reported as the bridge shuddered. "We can't sustain this exchange for long." Hayes had anticipated this. "Execute Maneuver Phoenix. Bring us directly underneath their central mass." The Nemesis dove beneath the Dreadnought, entering the one firing arc the Vorlax vessel couldn't effectively cover. As they passed beneath the enemy ship, Rodriguez deployed specialized mines that attached to the Dreadnought's hull, devices designed to interfere with the regenerative properties of the Vorlax armor. "We have confirmation from the Ardani," Communications Officer Lai announced. "Their remaining defense forces are engaging Vorlax ground troops, coordinating with our tactical guidance." The tide was turning, but the Vorlax dreadnought remained operational despite significant damage. Its remaining weapons continued firing, some shots now finding their mark on the Nemesis. "Hull breach on decks 12 through 14, Diallo reported. "Casualty reports coming in. Medical teams responding." Hayes' expression remained resolute. "Main antimatter cannon status. Charged and locked on their primary power core," Rodriguez confirmed. "All hands, brace for maximum acceleration," Hayes ordered. The Nemesis surged upward, emerging from beneath the dreadnought and executing a tight turn that strained the inertial dampeners to their limits. For a brief moment, the human vessel aligned perfectly with the weakened section of the Vorlax ship where previous attacks had compromised the shielding. Fire. The antimatter stream struck the dreadnought's exposed power core, matter and antimatter annihilating each other in a cascading reaction. The explosion began from within, the dreadnought rupturing from the inside out as secondary systems detonated. The shockwave buffeted the Nemesis, damaging its already strained systems, but the human vessel held together. Where the Vorlax dreadnought had been, only fragmenting debris remained. The smaller Vorlax vessels, suddenly finding themselves without central command, fell into disarray. Some continued fighting with programmed aggression. Others attempted to retreat. The drone swarms pursued relentlessly, ensuring none escaped to warn others of their kind. As the final Vorlax ship was neutralized, a profound silence fell over the Nemesis bridge. They had faced an enemy that had terrorized this region of space for centuries, and won. Damage report, Hayes finally requested. Multiple hull breaches contained. 27 confirmed casualties. 43 wounded. Propulsion at 70%. Weapons systems operational but depleted. Wormhole generator intact but requires recalibration before we can return home. Hayes nodded, the weight of the losses heavy in his mind, yet balanced against what they had accomplished. Open a channel to the Ardani. Sentinel Mira's hologram appeared, her skin now glowing with a brilliant luminescence that reflected her emotional state. Commander Hayes, we have no words adequate to express our gratitude. For generations, the Vorlax have been the nightmare of our galaxy sector. No species has ever defeated one of their dreadnoughts. We came to help, Hayes replied simply, and will continue to help with your recovery efforts. This day will be remembered in the history of many worlds, Mira continued. Already, we have received transmissions from 3 other species in nearby systems who monitored the battle. They ask if Earth would extend its protection to them as well. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Other civilizations? Yes, many live in hiding, constantly moving to avoid Vorlax detection. Your victory offers hope they have not felt in generations. In the following weeks, as the Nemesis underwent repairs with Ardani assistance, representatives from 7 previously unknown civilizations made contact. Each had suffered from Vorlax predation. Each offered knowledge, resources, and alliance in exchange for human protection. Earth had answered a single cry for help, and in doing so, changed the power dynamics of this corner of the galaxy. When the Nemesis finally reactivated its wormhole generator and returned to Earth, it carried not only the triumphant crew and the honored dead, but also representatives from 8 alien civilizations ready to forge a formal alliance. The message they collectively sent to humanity was clear. In a galaxy of predators and prey, Earth had emerged as something entirely unexpected. A defender of the defenseless, a species willing to fight for others, a civilization that answered distant cries for help with righteous fury. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as conquerors, not as victims, but as protectors. And the stars themselves seemed to tremble at the implications.